From the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, we welcome you to MoneyMasters. Hi, I'm your host, Nick Paleveda. And on today's program, we have our panelist, Dr. Boris Abbey from the world of academia, from the world of business, Kim Calhoun, and our special guest from Indiegogo, Slava Rubin. Slava, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Now, I said the name right, Indiegogo, right?
All is good.
Okay, and you're the founder of Indiegogo, correct?
Yep, I mean, going back to 2006.
2006, okay. And what inspired you to, oh, well, first, tell the viewers, what is an Indiegogo?
Indiegogo is a funding platform where anybody can raise money for any idea. So we launched in January 2008 with the idea that there should be an open marketplace. If you want to try to raise money, put it up online. And if people want to fund you, great. And if they don't, well, then you know that you might not have a great idea. And now we've distributed well over $1 billion in the last several years.
So what you do is you basically fund startups then? Is that what goes on?
It doesn't have to be an actual hardware startup or a software startup. It could be any type of idea. It could be a creative idea like a movie or a video game. It could also be a personal cause idea, but a majority of our funding is going to really interesting entrepreneurial ideas. It could be restaurants. It could be a lot of these things that are happening at CES, electronics, and people are looking to get startup money, growth money. Sometimes it's $10,000, sometimes it's $100,000, $1 million, or even $10 million or more.
Okay, Slava, how did you come up with this idea? In other words, I'm totally for it, funding venture capital, because it's real hard to get, but what do you do? You're sitting around your bedroom someday and say, hey, we need to start a venture capital firm on the internet.
Yeah, so it goes back to 2006. My two co-founders and I, Eric and Danae, we all had a mutual frustration of trying to raise money using the internet. Eric was on the board of a theater company. Danae was working with different filmmakers and entrepreneurs as an investment banker. And my dad died of cancer 10 years prior, so I had started my own charity. I was using MySpace and PayPal at the time, the most innovative technologies, and I was really struggling to raise money. We all talked about the internet is so fascinating. It's democratizing everything at the time. YouTube was brand new, content was being democratized, eBay was doing pretty well, auctions were being democratized. Yet access to capital was all about knowing the right person, the gatekeeper, the VC, the banker, the person at the government, the person in charge of the grants. And we just thought, if the internet is such a good tool for everything else, why not try to use it for raising money? Very naively, we launched the platform in January 2008. And now we send money every week to over 70 countries in the world.
Okay, so it sounds like a really good idea, but what about there's this thing called the Securities Exchange Commission, the Financial Industrial Regulatory Authority, FINRA and SEC. Did they say, that's a great idea, glad to have you guys here?
Well, in 2006, when we came up with the idea, we actually wanted to enter into more of a financial investment opportunity. We right away ran into the Securities Act of 1933 and other regulations, and we figured out that offering a financial instrument, so giving $1 to try to get $5 back, was not going to be allowed and not something we can do. So we actually went around that and didn't tackle that issue immediately. What we did was offer people the opportunity to donate, so to get a tax deduction, or to be able to pre-order the product. So maybe this gizmo, you'll say, yes, I'll give you $100 today, hopefully you'll make this product, tomorrow you'll sell it for $200, and now it's come to reality. That actually is not governed by the SEC, so we've been able to grow independent of that. By having all of that momentum, actually we were able to then change the rules, as it goes back to the Securities Act of 1933, to have Title III pass in 2012, and now equity crowdfunding today is allowed. So what wasn't allowed when we came up with the idea in 2006, 10 years later, is now a reality, actually 90 years later after the Securities Act of 1933.
Okay, so you're an entrepreneur, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to switch to the world of academia and bring in Dr. Boris Abbey. Dr. Boris Abbey, we have here a full-time entrepreneur, I would say. And what does the world of academia think about what this gentleman's doing here?
It's a brilliant idea because nowadays individuals are still trying to seek capital for their ideas. As an educator, I've helped students, well over 30 or 40, try to form businesses. And access to capital is always the #1 barrier that they face. And I think that it's wonderful nowadays, especially for a younger crowd who loves technology, who wants to get their ideas out there and to get funding, can go to you to make that happen.
So they can actually just go to the internet to make all this happen. Is that what you're saying, Slava?
Absolutely. They just go to Indiegogo.com and they're able to sign up for free. and they create their page. It's kind of similar to creating a Facebook page or an eBay page or a YouTube page. You add some content, you provide your video, you create your story, you say how much you're trying to raise, let's say $50,000. You say what perks you offer in return, maybe goods or services at different levels, and then off to the races you go. You usually will set up a target, maybe 30 to 60 days is how long that will be. And you always will start out by reaching out to your own network, your friends, your family, your social network. And if they start funding you, now you can start getting momentum. If you can't get your own network to fund you, it's going to be hard to get strangers.
Right. And so how much capital you said you've already raised for these groups that are out there?
We've raised well over $1 billion of money has gone into people's pockets, which has inspired hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs, which then relays into hundreds of thousands of more jobs that are being created across the world.
Right, which is a great thing to say. So we're creating what?
Creating jobs.
Thank you. Okay, right. So we'll bring you to the world of business and creating jobs. Kim, what do you think about Indiegogo here?
I love the idea. You're not just creating jobs, but you're creating inspiration for people to get out there and do it, because venture capital is so hard to get. I mean, it's not easy. Grants can be very difficult and time consuming. And like you said, you're giving them an opportunity to see if the market will want it. And sometimes you see an overload on it. I mean, I've watched some of your campaigns over the years, and you've gotten some that get real exciting. It's better than watching the races. But I was listening to you. You came up with the idea in 2006.
Yep.
And you launched in 2008. So like any startup, there were a lot of steps and procedures and research that you did to get there. What was some of the biggest hurdles that you went through to get from the time that you thought of this idea to launch?
So that took about 15 months. It was about October of 2006 until January of 2008. Having an idea is great, but you have to research it, see how many other competitors there are out there, what are the challenges, what are the regulatory issues. That's one of the reasons we had to find out that being a financial instrument right away would not be possible. Then we had to start thinking about the most important thing: is there a need? So we started, speaking to potential customers, even though they don't know they would be a customer because it doesn't even exist yet. So asking, hey, if we were able to help you raise money, would you be interested? Using social networking and using digital technology. They're like, well, I don't know what you're talking about exactly, but I would be interested if it worked. And then the most important thing is, what is that product? What exactly is the service, the offering? What are you creating that is now different in the world, that didn't exist yesterday, that now exists? So my co-founders and I, we talked about what are the features we needed, what's the functionality, what is it that they'd be able to do that when it's finished, these are the buttons they would press, these are the goals they would want to have happen. This might sound abstract, but it's as simple as saying, oh, they would need to be able to post their story and say this is how much money they want, and then let other people press a button and say, yes, I will give you money.
Okay.
I mean, that's part of the product experience.
It sounds simple.
Yeah, but you also come up with this name, Indiegogo. How did you come up with this name, Indiegogo? I mean, how does that relate to raising capital?
Yeah, so many of the simple names like raisingcapital.com were already taken, or very or very expensive. So we had to get a little creative. For us, Indiegogo stands for independent, which is indie, and then GoGo, which is fun and active. So with the independent spirit, no matter if you're a tiny little company, a brand new startup, or a huge corporation, and GoGo, which is fun and active, anything can happen. So we came up with the idea of the name Indiegogo, and I think it was $9.99.
Okay, all right. $9.99. Okay, so you saved money on that one. That was great. So when did you discover that you were going to do entrepreneur work? Were you always an entrepreneur, or did this all of a sudden a revelation you're heading this direction?
I've always been entrepreneurial. My parents, we came over from Belarus in '79. I was born in '78, and they, I think, inspired me with their entrepreneurial thinking, even though they were an engineer and a doctor. But the fact that they were willing to take on challenges of the unknown and navigate towards solutions, that's what being an entrepreneur is. And when I was younger, I would trade baseball cards and basketball cards, try to find inefficiencies in the market. I've always been a little bit of a hustler. I like to find solutions to what other people think are not possible to be solved. And yeah, then I went to college, I was a strategy consultant for 8 years, and then along the way I was trying to figure out what would itch that entrepreneurial itch I had, and then we came up with the idea for Indiegogo, and I was like, I'm all in.
Okay. So when you went to college, did you take entrepreneurship as some of your courses? Because it sounds like you were interested in it all the time.
I absolutely did. I went to Wharton undergrad at University of Pennsylvania,
Right.
and I was a double major for finance and entrepreneurial management.
Okay. And then afterwards, you went into work for a company, or did you go right to entrepreneurship?
No, I was a strategy consultant working for Fortune 500 companies for 8 years. So definitely not doing the startup entrepreneurial work, but I still think it was entrepreneurial work because these Fortune 500 companies were hiring us to solve problems that they didn't know the answers to, things that were very up in the air. For example, they would ask us, what will online banking look like back in 2002? They asked us, what will the deployment of being able to get internet sent to you via DSL cable, what would be the right decision? And we were able to say, hey, wireless might be the right decision. I guess what I'm saying is we were always applying entrepreneurial thinking at what the future could look like. And then finally we came up with the idea for Indiegogo, my co-founders, and I said, this is something I want to go all in on.
Okay, so when you started the company, were you working 9 to 5 or 5 to 9?
Indiegogo?
Yeah, Indiegogo. Were you working, did you clock in at 9 and leave at 5, or did you get up early at 5 and leave at 9?
It was more like I worked or I maybe slept.
Okay. All right. And that
so
was
it was just nonstop work.
Nonstop. Okay.
I mean, I'm an all-in sort of guy.
All right.
And there was no boss. There was no office. There was no HR policies. There was no clock to clock into or clock out of. There was just passion and desire to create out of air reality. And that is what creating Indiegogo was, because no one had heard of crowdfunding. The word didn't exist. No one had heard of Indiegogo. No one knew that you could use the internet to try to raise capital for your ideas. So we just had this concept in our brains, and we wanted to take what was reality in our brains and turn it into reality in the real world.
So you just created a whole new industry then?
I mean, we're definitely helping move forward, I think, access to capital. And it's because there's such a massive demand around the world, not just in America, that small business banking, individuals being able to try to get loans to take on risks, it's a broken system, especially post the economic crisis of 2008. I think the world is looking for new solutions.
Right. Now, Dr. Borsabi, okay, in school, we're supposed to, go to college, get our education, then go work for a company, which you did for a while, and then stay with the company, work 9 to 5, not 5 to 9, and then get your golden watch. What's wrong with this guy?
Absolutely nothing. I think in today's environment, I know very few individuals that get a job with a firm and stay there for the rest of their lives. And the reason why is because we're in a dynamic environment. CES epitomizes that. Every year the technology changes, the ideas change, and your platform allows individuals to invest in those state-of-the-art industries. But also, if there's a grandmother working right now at home knitting socks and they're very unique, she could also go to your website to get funding to create more. So really you're catering to both markets, somebody who might want to do something for the same thing for the rest of their lives, or the upstart entrepreneurs that are really hungry, really eager to go out there and to change the world.
All right. Now, Kim, the thing is, he's talking about this, he doesn't even work 9 to 5, he works until he drops, okay, type of thing. Now, you're an entrepreneur. Is that kind of the story of how you work?
Nick, you've seen what time I email.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm totally
so is my team. Being an entrepreneur, your heart's in it. And you can't stop. You want to do more, see more, and see it successful. And sometimes it's not even because it's not successful, it's just that you can't stop. It's your life and everything in it. And you just keep finding new things to do. And I think that's what's exciting about it. And I think that's what you find exciting about it. Like, you found something new. You found that you can go into the equity part of it, which I've always thought needed to happen. I would like to see more where businesses like what we're trying to do find a better niche in this area. Right now, you're great for business to consumer, B2C. We're kind of a B2G out there, kind of struggling a little bit. B2G is government, so I made that up. Not many people know that, but what is your next vision? I mean, you've moved on to that next level of being able to offer equity. Where do you go from there? I know you've got something else.
Yeah. What are you going for? You did Indiegogo. We know it's up. It's starting. It's running. Raised $1 billion in capital. What's your future looking like? Or are you going to retire and go on a golf course?
I mean, I'm not really the type to retire, but our goals when we launched Indiegogo is to help democratize access to capital. It's a pretty lofty goal, and I think it's something that you can't really solve ever. So I foresee being able to constantly be innovating, to constantly be leveling the playing field. That said, we have done a pretty decent job of getting the core business kind of flowing. We have over 500,000 entrepreneurs, over $1 billion distributed across every country in the world.
Okay, so wait, you're worldwide. You're not just here in the United States.
Oh yeah, we will send about a third of our money to other countries, and there'll be funders from 100 countries a month.
Right.
Yeah, so we're definitely global.
So Minsk and Smolensk, they all put money into this stuff? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
What I'm trying to say is the access to capital is a global issue.
Right, of course.
And everybody wants to be part of the solution, and they're looking for the best possible creative ideas. And we have been able to grow since 2008 all the way through the last couple of years to have a nice baseline of a business. More recently, in the last 18 months, I've been focusing on how to get a step-level function to the next growth phase for us. I've been thinking about how Fortune 500 companies are using us now, so enterprises.
Fortune 500 companies are using your company now?
Absolutely.
Okay, wait. What does a Fortune 500 company need to use startup capital for? Don't they have money?
Well, what they're learning is it's not about the startup capital.
Yeah.
The benefits of Indiegogo are many more than the actual money. They're getting market validation. They're getting to test their ideas. They're getting to get extra promotion. They're testing their marketing, and they're getting a direct-to-consumer connection. And along with that comes a lot of data. In Fortune 500 companies, they're often concerned with playing defense on what they've already accomplished versus playing offense and doing R&D and innovation to move forward. So in a publicly traded company, it's difficult to really invest forward into tomorrow when they're too much busy operating for today. We have 3 different offerings that we do with enterprises, which is we help validate innovation that they have in-house. We help source innovation when they have an idea of a thesis and they want to get those ideas of the practical, tactical ideas to come in. And we help do sponsoring innovation. So this is something that we're seeing Fortune 500 companies now starting to adopt the techniques of really these mom and pop smaller companies because they're seeing it's a great way to test.
Right, test. Yeah, but they can beta test using your site.
Exactly, without spending a lot of money up front, and you're getting a lot of feedback from the market. We have companies like GE or Harman or Hasbro or Whirlpool. Even at CES, you have both Whirlpool and GE just launched enterprise crowdfunding campaigns in the CES 2017. So enterprise is one of the things we're talking about. Equity crowdfunding is one of the things we're talking about to the next stage. So equity obviously means that you'll be able to get a financial instrument.
Correct, right.
We just launched this in November.
Because of the new rules and crowdfunding.
That we helped pass, yes, exactly. So we
Now wait, how did you help pass these rules?
So back in 2008, when we launched, we weren't allowed to be able to have equity crowdfunding. It wasn't a concept. It didn't exist. And then there was actually a campaign in 2011 on Indiegogo called the Crowdfunding Campaign to Change the Crowdfunding Laws, which was actually to raise money to get a petition to send to Congress to tell them, hey, we should change the laws around 1933 to be able to actually allow for equity investment. That then was parlayed into something called the Jobs Act, which then gets signed in 2012. We actually have a customer of ours on stage with President Obama. My co-founders and I are there at the White House when the Jobs Act gets signed. We work with the SEC and Congress to be able to actually create the rules. Then it takes 4 years from the signing of the bill till the SEC finally gets it all approved and all the details, and then we were part of getting that pushed forward, and then finally it goes live in May of 2016. So equity crowdfunding is very exciting. We ourselves as Indiegogo just launched it in November of 2016. We're less than 2 months old as of today, and have already passed the $1 million threshold and have 5 companies funded, 5 of 5, which is very exciting. Another thing is the Chinese market. So China is another growth area for us. We've been growing very rapidly in the last couple of years. So these 3 areas, so you see enterprise, as well as equity, as well as China, and the last one is we're starting to see that raising funds, we're starting to solve a little bit, a tiny bit. But then what happens is these entrepreneurs say, well, you were great for helping to raise funds, but making the product is really hard. Distributing the product is really hard. Getting a retailer to sign up with me is really hard. Can you do all those things as well? So they just want us to be completely vertically aligned and have all those things covered, which we can't do all those things ourselves. So we've been the last 18 months as well, been navigating partnerships where we've been going across the entire life cycle for the entrepreneur, from the beginning of idea all the way through manufacturing, through distribution, through retail, bringing in the right partners to be able to solve their problems.
So you're actually assisting the entrepreneurs in terms of going through the process?
Exactly. So we're becoming their trusted partner through our partnerships.
Right.
Partnerships like Brookstone, like in the airports.
Sure.
So
Right.
every airport in America has our products,
Right.
for example. Or Aero, which is a massive electronics company.
Biggest company in Colorado.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, right.
So they work with us to help ensure that the companies have good engineering, have really thought out their processes, and really are set up for manufacturing correctly. We also have partnerships with like Amazon and Target and others. So this sort of network of partnerships, you really don't just get Indiegogo now, you're getting Indiegogo and friends. So this is a way of thinking about when you ask, where's the future of Indiegogo going? It's not just about like, did you get the $5 or the $5 million? We're really trying to empower entrepreneurs to be as successful as possible.
Right, so Indiegogo is on the go-go, right? Okay,
Exactly.
It makes sense. All right, Dr. Boris Abbey, what do you think about his expansive business model that I'm sure you learned all in the Wharton School?
I think it's fantastic, not only for just raising money, but it's very important that entrepreneurs get the other additional support that they need, for example, marketing and manufacturing. Wonderful idea, thumbs up.
Okay. Kim, we know we have that jobs bill of 2012, was it right, that you got through?
That was signed, yeah.
That was signed, okay. What do you think about this concept?
I'm thrilled about it, especially the type of products that I work on. I think that that's a great way to go. Being able to give companies another way to raise money is just a brilliant idea, because you're also helping us regenerate the economy, put money back into the economy through the small people, not just through the big people. I love the fact that you're working with the manufacturers and help setting up a means so that people don't just stop with raising the money, because so often you raise the money and you have no idea what to do with it, and then their product stops. So I think it's brilliant what you have done. But that jobs bill, thank you.
Thank you. I think it's a great act. Slava, I have one question for you. This will be your final question.
All right.
Do you believe in a democracy?
I mean, definitely. I believe in the idea that people should have their opportunities to be able to do hard work and be able to flourish through it. So I do think from the standpoint of Indiegogo, we think of ourselves as very meritocracy, where it's an open platform. Success is not guaranteed, but a chance is guaranteed.
Okay.
And you know, that's all that we can give you. And so a lot of what most people are even just asking for, they're not asking for the $1 million result, they're asking for the opportunity to fail.
Right, okay.
And most banks and most VCs and most institutions will never give you the chance to fail.
Right.
And at Indiegogo, you have an equal opportunity to see what is possible, and who knows, you might end up being a huge success and changing the world along the way.
Right, so you believe in democracy.
Yes.
Okay, well, we have a democracy here at MoneyMasters, sort of a democracy. Here's the vote. We three get to vote on what we think about Indiegogo. Unfortunately, you don't get to vote. Conflict of interest, we'll understand. And so your vote doesn't count. So it's sort of a democracy. You're used to that, where, you know, somewhere over there. Okay, so we'll start with Dr. Boris Abbey. We have Indiegogo on the go-go. What is your thoughts about the Indiegogo? We know they made a push through Congress. They've changed the bill, and we're changing the landscape of raising venture capital through the internet, right? And what's your thoughts on Indiegogo?
I think it's a brilliant platform. Not only does it raise money, but it provides support, and it also encourages failure, because there's a lot of ideas out there that could fail, but also might succeed. Great environment, thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Okay, now Kim Calhoun, Indiegogo. Are we on the go-go or are we on the down-go?
I'm 2 thumbs up. I think they are inspiring in the evolution of technology and other ideas, and I'm going to use them myself.
Oh, well, they can't beat that. There's an endorsement. And since I've done a lot of this stuff, and I can guarantee you, raising capital is tough, but if you bootstrap, you can also do that. However, 2 thumbs up, because it's about time they allow people to fail and succeed, because without the possibility of failure, you completely quash the possibility to succeed. So I'd like to thank Slava for coming here to MoneyMasters and giving us a possibility to succeed. And we also like to thank our viewing audience about coming to MoneyMasters and listening to the latest and greatest trends in technology.
let's go to Tupelo. Let's take some time on a highway drive, a few miles, take it slow. Send me a message on the telegraph wire and tell me yes or no. My heart is frozen in space and time till I know what you know about Tupelo. I heard a whisper from a friend of mine, think you know Mr. Stone. He said you met a stranger